Well, time for a second look at the Cuben Fiber Tarp by Hammock Gear. This time, I want to show you the skins. Cuben fiber skins, weighing slightly under 1 ounce. The skins are 7 inches across this way, 6.5 foot long, 3.5 inches on the other end. The dimensions I gave to have these made were so that when the tarp is in it, it's not tight. It's nice and loose, easy to compress when I stick it down in the side of my pack. A little bit of concern for the fact that it was waterproof, and I was afraid I'd have a problem getting air out of it, but that doesn't prove to be the case. Of course, with any skin, it's just like, you know, with this one, time to deploy. All you have to do is grab the middle, slide it back out, and let the tarp fall outside of the skin. Now, one thing I have noticed about the Cuben fiber, once it's compressed in like that, it doesn't just slide out like it does with a regular seal nylon tarp. Once you got it fully deployed, then it's the same as with any tarp in skins. You just stake it out, let it hang until you get ready to use it. Stake one side out, which is usually what I do. I'll stake the back side out and I'll leave the front side open, or I'll put it into porch mode. Now when it's time to put the tarp back into the skins, of course you unstake it. I usually roll up the guidelines. I have them in a hitch here where I can take them off if I want to, but I generally just leave them on. If I'm going to deploy in the rain, it's kind of nice to have these already tied on. Put it up between the string, put it out, and I'm dry. But when it comes time to put it up, all I do is I roll up the side and start pulling the skin back over it. Now what that does is it fully covers the tarp, but it also, the air comes out of it. Works pretty well. Once you have the other side done, just go back to the opposite side, roll these up, you get a little bit of air. It's sometimes in a bubble here, but it's not that big a deal. Bring it up, collapse it over, and you're covered. You're ready to take the line down and fold it up. Pretty easy. Now, the one thing that I haven't done yet is have this thing in the rain. Of course, my seal nylon tarp, shake off as much water as I can. Sometimes I'll use a microfiber to wipe off excess water, but it retains a lot of water, and I've heard some people report as much to a pound weight loss in water by the time they bring it home and dry it. I've never really done that, but I do know it weighs more. So what I'm hoping with this thing is not soaking any water up, that I'll be able to shake more off and maybe knock some off with a microfiber towel before I roll it back up. Now, I've always made my skins out of mesh. Theory being, when I stick it out on the outside of my pack in the net, it can dry. Well, in fact, it really doesn't. When you roll up your tarp inside the skin, all that water is encapsulated in the tarp. The tarp's waterproof, so it's not going to go out. Some will leak off out the outside of the tarp, but not much. At least not in my experience. So, the skins being Cuben fiber, not waterproof, doesn't bother me too much. Actually may keep the outside of my pack a little drier. Yet to be seen. You remember back in the tent days when our flies had that waterproof coating on the inside? When you'd fold your fly up the same way every time, or you would put in a constant creasing to it, especially if you left it in a hot car or hot room where it was stored, it seems like those tarps would always fail where there was a fold line. Now, whether that has any bearing on seal nylon or Cuben fiber, I have no idea. But it makes me feel a little comfortable putting them in a skin, because I'm rolling it up. It's getting kind of crinkled in different places. It's never getting a hard, fast fold line anywhere. Even once it's in the skin and I fold that up and wad it down in my pack, there's nothing there that's going to be a constant danger to that kind of a crease. And like I say, I don't know if that'll do any harm to it or not. It's just my theory. And being a gorge rat, and we're known for not being quite right, who knows if my theory has any meat to it. Now, the Cuben fiber skins are not something that are carried on Adam's website. Maybe they will be in the future, I don't know. But I'm happy I asked for a custom order for them. The lightest weight skins I've been able to make out of mesh DIY and no-see-em is about 3.5 ounces. That's 3 times what this weighs. 3 ounces is not that big a deal in my book. I'm not that big a gram weenie, but hey, if you're going to go with a lightweight tarp, might as well have lightweight skins. Now you can see that what I'm using is Dutch wire stingers, and I am very happy with these things. When I first started playing around with this tarp, I decided I was going to take them off because I didn't want to take a chance on some of this hardware tips and points wearing a hole in the Cuben fiber. But deployed in these skins, I'm not so worried about that. I've seen some posts on hammockforums.net about the issue of having shorter hammock lengths with the 12-foot tarp. 12-foot tarp with my lightweight Grand Trunk, no problem. With my Warbonic Traveler, no problem. With my DIY, which is 11-foot long, of course there's no problem. This is my button and sling hammock, and as you can see, it's no problem. But whether it's the longer version hammocks or it's the short version hammocks, I'm not having a problem getting that angle, getting that lay. Of course, with the longer hammock, I just find them a whole lot more comfortable. Probably more about that on another camping trip, but don't worry about a 12-foot ridgeline if you got a shorter hammock. It just depends on how you're setting it up and your tree spacing, but I haven't had a problem. I don't think anybody else will either with just a little bit of practice. Now, one of the things I haven't really determined yet is whether I'm going to stick with the 2 ridgeline lines and the stingers, which I really like. They're really convenient. They give you a chance to cinch it up, and they work great. But a little bit lazy, and it's kind of nice to come up, find where you want to camp out, hook your continuous ridge line in it, and then if your tarp's not quite centered or for some other reason you need to adjust it, all you got to do is move the prussics, and that kind of spoils you, especially if you get a little bit on the lazy side. Is one better than the other? Well, this one is with the stingers, because it's probably about an ounce and a half lighter. Again, not that big a deal unless you're gram weenie, but either way, can't go wrong. Things I do when I remove my ridge line or my side tie outs is I basically just take the line, wrap it around my fingers till I get the thing, maybe about a foot from the end, and then all I do is start wrapping it over itself, trying to keep it a little neat. It's pretty fast, doesn't take much time, but what it does do is it makes the line nice and neat and ready for me next time I open this thing up and go to hang it between a tree. Just one stick up under a loop, pull it tight, and that will stay where I put it. No problem. So that's look 2 at the Hammock Gear .com Cuben Fiber 4-season tarp with a 12-foot ridgeline. Next time I probably do a review on it, it'll be from the field. At least I'm hoping it is. I'm due for some woods time. Actually, it's probably got more liver mush to it than meat. I like a liver mush theory. So if you're folding, so if you're constant, bug.